Good afternoon, everyone. Not sure what they're barking about. Chase, enough! Alright, give me a second to go see what these dogs are barking about. Alright, sorry about that. Apparently they're barking about nothing. As you guys are probably wondering about the title. I swear, one dog starts something, the other two go follow right behind them. But yeah, as the title states, what the rulers of this world don't want you to know. I know, as we've been dealing with this year, we're starting to see the rise of of all these different factions, labels, basically what I call them. You know, we have the alt-right, the alt-left, the alt-light, left, leftists, conservatives, liberals. You know, they're all pushing different agendas. We're starting to see more and more in the alt movement talk of forms of segregation, you know, whites having their own communities. But you start hearing it talks about IQ tests, basing IQs on ethnicity. You know, they're bringing up some interesting points, talking points. You know, everybody's entitled to their views and opinions. But the problem is I've stated this before with other things such as climate change. You can line up 10 scientists and you'll have 5 saying it does exist and 5 that says it don't. Same thing it goes for the systems with the IQ tests. You know, then you get scientists to say that, well, certain ethnicities are just naturally born with low IQs. And there is factual information there, but they're omitting the real facts, the real truths. Because the rulers of this world, they don't want you to know these truths. They want you to keep falling for this deception. They want you to keep everybody divided. They don't want you to see the real truths. The real truths are, if you don't have money and you're not going to a high-end private school or a high-end public school, you're not getting a proper education. If you live in poor communities, you're not having a good education system. You're not being taught properly. You're not taught, especially this day and age of technology. A lot of people are starting to not even know how to write. I remember you had to learn how to write regular and in cursive. I mean, now it's just, we touch a keyboard or touch our screens. We don't need to write. But statistics won't show you those things. When we start not teaching those things, does an IQ go up or down? It goes actually down. When we start not pushing books onto our kids, here, read this, teaching them to read other things, their IQ levels will lower. Those that read, IQ levels go up. Those that start participating in activities, group activities, their IQs are higher. But when you start breaking down the classes and the social structures, if your trade is a farmer, you're going to be taught more farmer things. I mean, it's a slow evolution that way. It's designed to keep cultures in a working class. That's why, you pretty much will say a 1% will rise out of each class that'll break free from that class and become something or someone. It has nothing to do with your ethnicity, guys. That's the biggest BS, biggest illusion out there. It doesn't have nothing to do with your skin color. It's been proven for anybody that's ever went to other school systems or other countries. You would know this. Like for me, for example, I went to school in Brazil for a little while. When we lived down there for 2 years. If you went to a public school, you got no education. So therefore, yes, the IQ levels of most common people in Brazil are low because they're not the prestige social class. Those have the families that have money. Their kids go to private schools, which would be the Catholic school or the preschool, which are 2 private school systems down there. And if you would test their IQs, it would be astounding. Most of those people become doctors, lawyers, government politicians. for those, the video went too long. It was a 3-hour video when I talked about the caste system. These are the very simple things that we're playing out to this day. And we're seeing more neo-Nazi type rhetoric, Hitler type rhetoric being taught from some, not all, right wings. They've infiltrated the right, the alt-right, and started teaching this stuff, reintroducing it again. I mean, they just changed the names of them. That's why I tell people it's important to do research. Don't look at just one set of scientific studies and statistics. Search, find both arguing sides. You're always going to find an opposing side. That's what our rulers want. They want the opposition. They want the division. They don't want you to know the truth. They want you to question and doubt yourself when you do read something. I mean, throughout all these social media platforms, the rise of the truther community. Now that truther community, we've seen how many branches of different types of citizen journalists, different types of websites come up to where now there's so many, when you see a story pop up, now you got to spend more time researching because everybody's going to follow their label to the most point. Not everybody does it, but they're going to follow their ideologies, and they're not going to stray from them. We see it in our classic media. You can tell which media company is party aligned to what party by how they word things, how they say things. They don't change. But yet, now we're starting to see that happen also in all the other alt communities that have sprung up from this social media. Then you start having these people that have some influence and power over some things that start to slowly infiltrate teaching their ideologies. I mean, I've pointed out a couple already. This is designed. It's been designed. It's been, throughout centuries, it's been in play. Our rulers have set this in motion a long time ago, and they rule by it. They keep the masses dumbed down. They allow only a small percentage to rise up from each category and group. Then they pay off scientists to support their ideology, their philosophy, so they can oppose the other scientists that want to bring you truths. The truth is, anybody's ever done the research on IQs, it is the biggest joke of them all. It's meant to deceive the masses. It doesn't address the real issues. That's the problem. We're not, all these groups coming out but talking about things, they're integrating other people's ideologies. And they're changing the message of what the alt-right used to be, what socialists used to be, what feminists used to be, what civil rights movement groups used to be. We have some major issues in this country that we do need to focus on. I mean, it's ridiculous. But we get caught up in all this stuff, which is meant to do that. It's meant to be a distraction. It's meant for us to go oppose each other when our ideologies clash. Our rulers want us divided. They want us not questioning things. Why? Because when we start to question things, we start seeing through the truths. We start seeing the real message. We start seeing the lies that they've fed us. The part that kills me is some of these people that I followed for a while, all of a sudden they've just changed the way their ideology of stuff, their views. And they don't realize they got baited and tricked. They don't realize, why would you, especially, I'm going to use this as an example. I know a few Jews that are practicing more of a Hitler ideology. Why would they ever? I mean, the ones that I know, I've got to meet Holocaust survivors. Dude, they would never, ever want to see that repeated. They would never even let their generation repeat those, have that atrocity happened to another ethnic group. But yet, for some odd reason, it seems to be okay to talk about. It's okay. It's like it's never happened. Sometimes you guys forget your history, and that's the other thing. Because our rulers of this world, they strip in certain sections out of the history out because they don't want the younger generation to know this history. Because if they know this history, they wouldn't even be falling for these ideologies again. They would oppose it as soon as they've seen it. They would instantly question it. But all of a sudden now we have people that tried to debunk and say the Holocaust never happened. I'm sorry. I've had family that fought in World War II who went into the concentration camps, and the stories that they told and things they've seen, that's an American soldier saying that. Witnessed it firsthand. A relative, a family member, the atrocities that they've seen. But yet we take that stuff out of our history books now because, oh, it puts a blemish on what America stands for. No, these are history lessons. They're lessons so we don't repeat these mistakes again. But our rulers don't want you. They want you to keep repeating these mistakes. They want you to keep you locked in this cycle so they can just cultivate the ones they deem will follow and worship them and will adhere to their ideologies and help transmit it to younger generations. Is that a society you want to live in? The fact is, people talk about the big thing. Whites aren't reprocreating, repopulating. Well, why? Because we were, from the 90s throughout, we were hounded with taught birth control, safe sex. We were taught that, work on your career before you have kids. They prepared things to be the way they are now. And it's happened through every culture. Don't just put one culture in there. Look at a lot of our black communities are in poorer sections of cities where it's almost designed so they can't succeed. And that's where they take their IQ test and base their IQ test out of. So they don't do the IQ test and statistics from private schools, because if they did, the numbers would not reflect what you see. They only take them from the public schools. And I've been lucky in life. I've been able to travel a lot more than most people. I've got to witness, experience things. Some of the stuff you only see in the cities. You start getting out to your rural country areas, you don't see these issues. You see families and communities still flourishing, still tight-knit. It's when you get into these larger cities where you see the chaos, the social engineering. Something. Maybe that's what we need. Maybe we need to depopulate some of the cities. There's a theory for you. I doubt it would work. They just find another way to integrate the same old systems back in. The truth is, it's happening everywhere. But now we're getting so divided. And that's what scares a bunch of people. We are so divided. It might seem like we've mended some fences, but try to have a conversation or try to make somebody question something about something they've heard. They'll instantly go into attack or they'll unfollow you or unsubscribe for you because you made them question ideologies. But you cannot question, you cannot grow. If you're not willing to sit there and question everything you take in, you're not going to grow. You're going to fall into one of these labels and you will not pull yourself out. Then 10 years from now, reality will set in and you'll start waking up and saying, oh man, I was misled, I was misled. Trust me, it's happened to all of us already. You know, even from our own generations, we get that shock that, wow, we were so misled. Then we run into how do we tell it to the younger ones? Because I was young, I know what it's like. I'm not going to listen to you. You don't know anything. I watched a live stream the other day. I think it was stupid, but protest that was going on in California. And this one girl made the stupidest comments you could ever make for being young. You're older. You don't know nothing. I'm younger than you. I see what's going on. I'm living what's going on. No, you have no experience. You haven't lived yet. You're just now starting to live life. You haven't had the experience of what life is yet. In some aspects, yes, you know what it's like to be young. So do we. We've learned from our mistakes. We've experienced those things. Doesn't mean you don't have your own experiences. You do. You're more experienced when it comes to new technology. But when it comes to old ideologies, you're just now learning them. And what you're learning is missing all the stuff that they've stripped out of it. You still have access to find that information on the internet. Because, people talk about why they're trying to censor it. This is why. Because, one, they found out how powerful the internet is when it comes to being able to find information, fact check, question things, learn new things, new ideologies, new thought processes. And that scares them because when you start learning, you start questioning, you start waking yourself up, you start seeing through the lies. And that's where people are starting to realize, man, if war would pop off anywhere, we're so divided. We've been so at each other's throats. It would bring civil unrest to us. I mean, we're teetering on that now, and we don't. A lot of people, we see it's a calm before the storm is what it's become. How long will that calm last? Nobody questions those things. They just keep looking for. We're all drawn to things. I mean, people look at me. They'll go through my followers. Why are you following him? I'll follow this person or that person. Why? Because I'm learning. I'm not scared to step outside the box and listen to other people, other groups, and what they got to say. I'm not scared to listen to someone that has a different view and opinion than me. Because I know there might be something there that we could find common ground on, to where we can teach each other and break these divisions and get out of this cycle that they keep putting us in. You know, when you tell me you back it by science, you, for 9 times out of 10, for every fact you can find, a person can go find the opposite to back their facts. That's the problem. It goes back to what a few people said. Well, who do you trust? You trust yourself if you're questioning everything. How does it make you feel? Does it feel right to you? That ideology, that philosophy, that theory, does it feel right? Does this sound right? What has history shown us about those things? History is a beautiful thing, guys. If you can go back and look at it, research it, you can see where the mistakes were made. Then you'll start starting to see some of these ugly little ideologies that keep popping up over and over and being integrated in some great movements and great causes, and slowly changing them. And it happens on every level. What we see now, we see people lashing out. People are tired of being deceived. They're tired of being lied to. They're tired of being treated as second-class citizens. And it's happening just not here in the U.S. It's happening all around the world. Some countries, the people rise up. But we see what happens. Venezuela, look what happens. What's happening there. It's sickening to watch. It's sad to watch a collapse of a country. But when the people get oppressed, that's what they do. And our rulers of this world aren't what you think they are. Some of you guys will say, oh, it's our politicians, it's our president. No. They're not the real rulers of this world. They're taking orders just like everybody else. They have their own agendas. Some of them think they do run things. And some of them are put in those positions by wealthy people to make sure that certain structures stay in place, certain ideologies stay in place. They don't want that cycle to break. You know, everybody, oh, it's the Bohemian and Grove Society. Oh, it's the occultists. You know what? We'll go with the first one first. Those are just puppets on a string. Those are publicity stunts. Those are public figures they put there so you can put a face, a man to chase. The real people behind that probably isn't called Bohemian Grove or Bohemian Society. You won't even know who they are. You won't know their names or their faces. They're the puppet masters that pull the strings, that put the illusion in front of you so you can keep chasing that rabbit, down that rabbit hole. And, you know, I get tired of hearing people, oh, it's the occultists. I mean, how many of you don't even know what the word means? For one. Two, have you ever talked to any of them? I have. And I tell you what, it's not what some of you guys put them out to be. Actually, some of them, they just want the best things for this country. They want what everybody else says they want. Once again, another form of illusion to deceive you. Even that culture and group is so divided. But you guys don't know that because you don't talk to them. And the ones you do pick out, those are the ones who make it public, who are in it for the intention. Who wants to, in a sense, they've been put there to do exactly what they're doing. Give everybody other groups a bad name. It's no different than what I've been talking about with other groups. So when you blame the occultist, go talk to some before you start pointing fingers. It's probably one of the most peaceful communities you'll ever, it's such division amongst that community. But they're probably the most peaceful people you'll ever encounter. They're more nature-based, some aspects, more spiritual in some aspects. We just always want to point the blame somewhere. And usually who we're pointing the finger at has nothing to do with what you're even talking about. Because other than maybe George Soros, he's about the only one that, and mainly, dude's probably psychopathic, schizophrenic. He's a sociopath. He doesn't care if his face is known. He wants his face to be known. There's some people out there like that. And they're high, influential people. But I'm willing to bet there's somebody pulling his strings even. Probably more like a group of people pulling his strings. It's good to question things. It's good to question all groups, no matter what they are. Question their ideologies. But when you're questioning, don't also talk to the people. Don't just talk to the ones that are out there being flamboyant, giving actually the group a bad name, because that's, you ask other people that claim to be of that group, they're going to flat out tell you, no, we don't recognize him. He don't speak for us. This is what our rulers have caused. This is the primordial chaos that they have instilled in this whole world. They want you to always be at odds with each other. They don't want you to realize that you can coexist with everybody on this world. Because if you do, well, you won't be making too much money off wars anymore. Corporations, pharmaceutical companies won't be making millions and billions of dollars off everyone because everybody will have to say enough's enough. You're not going to charge these outrageous prices. We're not going to pay for them. Which comes into the more taboo areas of pseudosciences, natural remedies. They don't want you doing those things. They don't want you using those things. Why? Because they're not addictive. In most cases. Some are. They're natural. They're meant to be taken. So they can dull you down, keep you down like a downer, or keep you addicted. Because when you are addicted, when your senses are dulled down, you don't question. You fall in line. You follow. What we need is more leaders to stand up. People that aren't scared to talk about these things openly. And it's not about arguing each other. It's about sitting there listening, talking back and forth. No one in this world is ever going to agree on everything. We're not supposed to. If we agree on everything, then what are we doing here? We're not growing, we're not learning. We strive to learn, we strive to grow. So why do we keep going back? Oh, this group of people, because of their ethnicity, their culture, they're always going to have low IQs. That's wrong. That's our rulers telling you that, and you believe it. When there's been plenty of scientific fact that refutes this evidence. But, as I stated, for everyone that refutes it, there's a paid one that says opposite. Because in some cases, people aren't going to look past what they've been taught, their ideologies. They're not going to question. They're going to follow the status quo. And they will never admit when they're actually wrong. Some do it because of fear. Because they know if they stand up and say against these things, something bad might happen to them or to those they love. That's why it's so important, guys. I got to repeat and reiterate. Question everything. Question everything I say. Go research. But just don't take one source. Go look at multiple sources. Find the opposing sources. Enlighten yourself. Start doing that. You'll start awakening to the real truth. And don't be afraid to admit you're wrong. The worst feeling ever is when you realize something that you believed in forever is wrong. You were so wrong. You were taught wrong. It's a numbing experience. I mean, it leaves you numb for a little bit. Then you feel lifted, free. It's an actual beautiful experience, just not the numbing part. Because the numbing is the realization that, wow, if I was taught this and this was wrong, how much more was? And then you start really delving into things, and you start really awakening, questioning. You start seeing the truths. Eventually, you'll start seeing the patterns. And then you'll know who to trust and when to trust, because now you're awakened. Now you understand. Now you're listening to yourself. Yourself is like, well, find these things. And when something's said that's out of line, it'll feel wrong. It'll trigger you. There's some forms of triggers that are good, because it makes you question. You know, for the past, this week, I've been up and down on followers on Twitter. Seem to break 97. I go to 97, drop back down to 92, 94, 95, 96, all week long. It's every time I post something, every time I comment on something. And it's because, yeah, I've been talking a little bit more about the alt-right. I've pointed a couple people out. You know, I wish I could give you the names of who these rulers were. But they wouldn't be that good of shadow rulers if they let their names be known. So, the moral of the story, which has been the moral of the story for the last few videos, question everything. Question even yourself. Research. Listen to other opposing views that you wouldn't normally agree with. Learn. Why are they all of a sudden talking about these things? Why did they change the way they used to be, now following this ideology? 9 times out of 10, you'll find a couple people have created that group and brung their followers with them into that group, and it fractured the group. And with the younger generation that keeps coming up, that we're following them, they're missing parts of their history. They're missing things that they weren't taught. So they don't have no reason to question it because they don't know any differently. That's why the world is the way it is right now. And it's not to be putting blame on everyone. It's not pointing blame on all these different labels. Every group has their bad apples. Except for now the bad apples are starting to grow more and more in these groups. Changing what these movements of each group. And you get people like me that come around and point it out. I am now soon to be the villain of every group. Nothing new. Been there, done that. We'll keep doing it. When somebody says something that's factual, I give them, I acknowledge it. I point it out. But when they spew something that I know is not what that movement or that group's about, I'm going to point it out. Doesn't mean I have something against that group. I just have something against the bad apples that's infiltrated that group. The ones that are doing our rulers' bidding. Trying to keep you divided, segregated, uneducated. Something for you guys to think about. Break the system. Question. Listen. Research. Listen to yourself. Question yourself. Why did it trigger you? Then you'll start finding the answers you're seeking. You'll start seeing the illusions and the deceptions. Don't blame it on censorship. Don't blame it on the platforms. As bad as it's gotten, I'll still tell you this. YouTube, still an awesome platform. I can still go on here and learn. I can still find videos like I'm doing. I can still find other videos that other people are doing. I can learn how to do new things. I can educate myself. These other net things that are popping up, they're all pay to play. I mean, eventually I look for YouTube going to that more of that lines, pay to play. I mean, it is pay to play in a sense. You want your viewer counts to get your videos to get more views, pay for it. So it does, in a sense, oppose its own censorship. You want to be able to talk freely about things? Quit worrying about the censorship. Don't monetize your channel. Speak freely. Adapt. Don't be scared of change and adapting to things. Be quick on your feet. Because all those platforms out there, I've tried them all. I mean, no one's come up with something that like YouTube, like Twitter or Facebook. Gab's got some good things, but, you want to do live streams, you got to pay. Well, they say, well, that's because it's beta. No. If they truly wanted a free speech platform, they would open it up and offer the same thing. There's techs out there that can create the very same software that allows you to integrate XSplit into them or use Hangouts into them. Or you can create your own program that allows you to even live stream from your own websites, guys. You can find all that stuff here on YouTube. How to do it. You can do it yourself. if you're willing to invest the time and the learning. You know, is it going to have some things you talk about? Is it going to get sensitive? Yeah, it's just the way it's always been that way. Nothing's changed. But no, there's other means to spread the word. You know, hey, send a chain email to people. Put your video in an email. Yes, I know you can only do certain amounts. Or create a website that allows you to upload your own videos to your website. And there's your storehouse. There's your archive. There's a place where you can send a link out to people in an email. Allow them to come right to it. There's ways around every system. You just got to think outside the box. And you also got to learn to be able to change and adapt to things. You know, if you're going to monetize your channel, then you got to obey the TOS, which is ever-changing. It can change. With almost every TOS I've read on any platform, it states more clearly, subject to change without notification. It's on you to check your TOS. They don't have to notify you of any changes they make. I don't care where you go. You get a little bit more freedom when you create your own website, but you're still on somebody's hosting platform. But in a sense, you can create somewhat your own TOS for your website, but you're still answerable to the hosting platform. But there's ways for us still to get our information out there. For me, not that easy. Like I said, I'm living on needs right now. You know, very fixed income. I'm currently not working, so I got to be careful. I can't just go on Gab and pay to play. You know, I checked out Spreaker. It's actually kind of an awesome site. I kind of like it, but I don't do 15-minute podcasts, so I'm limited to 5 hours of what I can upload, and I'm limited to only 15-minute live podcasts. You know, so I mean, to some people, it's not. Some of these platforms, it ain't that much to buy into and be able to do these things. I mean, for right now, it's me being able to give $5 for something. Yeah, that gets into my needs. You know, food, hygiene, clothing. I just can't afford to even $5 a month. Now, when I'm working, it's a different story. I can afford some of those luxuries, those wants. But I've chose not to monetize my videos, so I'm not being completely censored, so I can speak freely. So I do my own graphics. All my graphics are either done by me or off a free source for DeviantArt from stock that you're allowed to use from unmonetized or non-monetized platforms. But these are the things I've learned before I started doing this. I learned this stuff from building websites, building platforms. Which made the integration coming to here a little bit easier. yes, I was getting censored because when I was monetizing on my other channel, I learned that lesson. Okay, so let's go in a different direction. I don't want the censorship on this channel. I don't want to have to worry about what I say and do, so I'm not going to monetize this channel. So I knew once I did that, hey, that's it. I'm not, so in a sense, I put a crutch on myself because now I can't expand out. I can't jump onto another platform and pay to be on it. There are risks you take, but the rewards thus far, I'm able to come on here, speak freely, do what I've been doing, and not worry about it. But there's more factors to that. I don't have a big bunch of subscribers or followers here on YouTube, so therefore I have less traffic, less people trolling and recording me because my ideology goes against them, even though I'm sharing it on every platform I'm on. Sometimes it's not, to me, I've learned this lesson in life a long time ago. Not quantity. When you get quality, you get interactions through your chats. You get more knowledge and wisdom gained through interaction with others. You don't have people coming in here getting so easily offended. And you learn in life that people are drawn to people. They're drawn to people's ideologies, the way they hold themselves. And they'll eventually come along and come in. It's just being patient and keep doing what you're doing. Have that passion and flair in life that you've learned and cultivate it and use it. It's history, in a sense. It's history because I've learned from my past history, all the mistakes I've made, the stumbles. Where I've stumbled. I've learned from them. And I'm still learning. I'd like to think with each stream I do or each video I do, the quality is getting better. And sometimes it's not. Sometimes I have my bad days. Some days, just like I'm learning not to come on here when a subject that I'm really emotional about at the time, not to come on here and do it because then I'm much more freer with my words and I'll cuss more. Or I'll be a little bit more combative to an ideology that I might be opposing at that time. So it's a learning process, even for me. But the more I learn, the more I interact with all these groups of different people, the more I can bring to you. The more I can show you the differences. A lot of my stuff, I'm not going to show you the facts. It's on you to go find the facts. I'll give you guidelines on how to do it. It's on you to question. When you start doing that, you start breaking those chains that our rulers are put upon you. You start breaking the cycles that they try to keep us in. And let me tell you something, the more you start learning, the higher your IQ grows too, which goes right there to prove wrong that theory of IQ with any type of thing. Like I said, it's a system designed to cause division, designed to keep people locked in the system. That's what they want. Then with all these new groups that come up, spring up, or infiltrate the older groups and start changing that movement, that cause, that ideology of that group, that label, they don't have the history to go back to. They weren't taught that history. So therefore, these new ideas come up. There's nobody to question them within that group and say, no, this is the reason why we don't follow that. But I'm going to keep this kind of short, which, yeah, me short. But an hour is short for me, guys, so I hope you enjoyed. If you enjoyed it, like it. If you didn't, hit the dislike button. If you really enjoy what I've been saying, and you've checked out some of my other videos, and you think it's something that you might want to keep hearing, subscribe so you know when I go live and when I upload videos. If you don't want to, it's fine by me. You know, like I said, to me, it's about quality, not quantity. It's about being able to interact with you guys as well. And that comes with quality and quantity. But it takes time to get there, so I'm a patient person. But I will see you guys in the next video, which I'm probably going to do another one later tonight. That's going to be on Making Men Great Again, a video series that I've been trying to do once a week on Thursdays, so I'll be doing that a little bit later. A few things I want to talk about on that one as well. Which, you know, it still can be related even to this one if you guys want to check them out. Because it's, you know, alpha, beta, that mentality, why it's happening. It can be found within this very discussion that we've discussed. Because that's what they want us to be. They don't want us to be strong leaders. They actually want us all to be betas and followers. But we'll save that for the next videos. I will see you guys later. Hope you guys enjoyed. You guys had a wonderful weekend since tomorrow is Friday. And I will chat with you guys later. Remember, we the people for the people. It's our voices that need to be heard. We need to take steps forward. Making people question, putting people from our communities in these roles of leadership. We need to bring our government back to the community, and that starts by building our communities and talking within our communities and raising our communities to be leaders.